I think they got a special coming up tonight. Do you have a special tonight on the Vertical?
We do, Dan, a very special on the heels of our draft show, which was a pretty big success for doing a free agency special that begins at 11:30 Eastern and goes probably past 1 a.m. as these deals start to come in, and you can stream that at thevertical.com.
Do you think there'll be deals announced at midnight, 12:01 tonight?
Absolutely. I think there'll be maybe not 12:01 per se, but within the first 20 minutes of the deadline passing. I think some deals that seem like no-brainers at the moment are Andre Drummond in Detroit, Bradley Beal in Washington. I think there's a decent chance Nick Batum in Charlotte could agree to something at some point. Al Horford in Atlanta's one to watch. Will Atlanta pony up the cash in a 5-year deal to make Al happy? If they do, that could get done pretty quickly. Some pretty big names come off the board very fast.
All right, Kevin Durant's plan, meeting with everybody in the Hamptons. Now, nobody else is, the Knicks and Lakers can't get an audience here with Kevin Durant?
But the Lakers, definitely not. The Knicks, not at this point. I wonder if the expected signing of Joakim Noah goes through, if that'll change, if he decides, Durant that is, on Sunday morning, that he's okay with giving Phil Jackson and Jeff Hornacek and Carmelo, who he's been talking to a lot over this last week, an audience. But as of right now, the teams that are out there that you've seen are the ones on his list.
All right, most likely to happen. What's the scenario with Durant?
Even some of the executives that I've talked to, or even players that I've talked to that are going to be in the room, the expectation is that Oklahoma City remains a strong favorite. The 1-year deal to return to the Thunder and effectively punt on free agency until the summer of 2017, when a lot of other big names are on the market and the money goes up even higher, seems to be the most likely scenario. But the one caveat to all this, Dan, is that when you get in a room with Durant, things could change very rapidly. You look back at last year and the LaMarcus Aldridge situation. I would argue that Aldridge went into free agency thinking he was going to be a Los Angeles Laker. Well, the Lakers came in and they tanked the meeting. They did mildly better on the second one, but they immediately came off LaMarcus's list. I would bet you that the Phoenix Suns at the start of it were never going to be on LaMarcus Aldridge's list. They became a finalist towards the end alongside San Antonio. So once these guys get in the room, and specifically the players, last year was Tyson Chandler trying to recruit LaMarcus Aldridge to Phoenix. If you get, say, Golden State, which I'm told is sending Draymond Green, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson to this meeting with Kevin Durant.
Wow.
You get those three guys in the room, along with the Steve Kerr, anything can kind of happen there. So I think Oklahoma City's a front runner, but it's the ultimate fluid situation.
Okay, but Golden State is sending their 3 best players into the Hamptons Friday morning.
When their meeting is Friday, that's what they're doing.
Oh, man. They've been recruiting him all season long, though, Chris.
They have been recruiting, you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, well, look.
Golden State, the players have. Steph has been trying to recruit, he and Klay have been trying to recruit Kevin all season long.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt, but the same way Carmelo has been doing it, and the same way Isaiah Thomas in Boston has been trying to do it. I mean, players, they do this, but this is a formal chance. Just like last year, again, I go back to the Aldridge thing. In the room for San Antonio, influential was the presence of Kawhi Leonard and Tim Duncan and even Patty Mills, who had a relationship with LaMarcus Aldridge that dates back to his Portland days. Mm-hmm. Being in the room with him as these presentations go forward, this has the potential to have a much bigger impact than just at a practice or an all-star game saying, hey, man, you need to come play for us.
He's Chris Mannix from Yahoo Sports. Their special tonight, The Vertical. That'll be at 11:30 Eastern as we get ready for the start of free agency. What about Dwyane Wade?
This is eerily reminiscent of what we dealt with a couple of years ago with Dwyane. The one thing that Dwyane wants to get across to Miami, this is what I'm told, is that he's not taking any kind of hometown discount or any kind of pay cut if it means trying to create space to bring in marginal stars. In other words, You're not getting Dwyane to leave a couple of $1 million on the table so you can go out and get a Kent Bazemore. Now, if you say that Kevin Durant is going to come play for Miami, then I think Dwyane will play with his salary a little bit because he wants to win over the final few years of his career. But his people have kind of created this market out there for Dwyane Wade as sort of a threat, I think, to Miami, saying, look, we're going to look at New York, L.A., all these cities that are out there, just as a word of warning to Pat Riley that this is not going to be business as usual with Dwyane Wade. He'll help you out with the big stars, but he's not going to help you out with the lesser guys.
The market for Dwight Howard is what?
I might be the only one in the world that thinks it's going to be robust. I do. I think that Dwight is going to have half a dozen to a dozen teams that are looking to sign him. Now, it's not going to happen quickly because Dwight Howard, he needs to see what the market's going to bear out for him because he's going to go into free agency thinking, all right, my priority is a 4-year max deal. It might take him 2 or 3 days to figure out that deal is just not on the table. Then you get down to those second tier of offers. And what's the strongest second tier offer? What does Portland come in with? What does Boston come in with? What does Atlanta come in with? At that point, I think Dwight chooses from the best available offer. I mean, I wouldn't hesitate for a second, Dan, to give Dwight Howard 2 years at $50 million, 3 years at $65, $70. I still think that Dwight, at 30 years old, can be a productive player for the next 3 years, be an 18-point, 12-rebound type of guy. If that's what will get it done with Dwight Howard, I would give him that deal at 12-01.
Well, if I can do 18 and 12 with him and he can be a defensive presence, then, I understand it. But we are sort of shying away from big men, at least, his kind of big man, his style.
But Dan, tell Golden State that at the end of the finals when they were getting run over by Tristan Thompson. How badly did they need Andrew Bogut over those last 2 games? I don't buy that. I buy that the game is evolving. I don't buy that a big man with the ability to dominate like Dwight Howard, I think, still does, is going out of style.
But would you rather have Joakim Noah or Dwight Howard?
I think it's close. I think for the Knicks, I'd rather have Joakim Noah because he doesn't want the ball and he's okay playing a certain style. But I think for Portland and for Boston, I prefer Dwight Howard.
Yeah, I like Portland as he needs to go to a smaller market, I think, and he also needs to go where he knows he's going to touch the ball. Is he going to touch the ball with those shooting guards in Portland? Is he going to touch the ball with those young kids in Boston?
I think he touched the ball a lot in Boston, frankly. That's obviously a team I'm really familiar with. But, Brad Stevens is maybe the smartest coach in basketball. And if he's not, he's in the top 3. And Brad Stevens will find a way to get Dwight his touches. I mean, Dwight has to go into these teams, Dan, with an understanding that they're not signing him to be their franchise player.
Yes.
He has to go in understanding that, his shots are going to go up from the 8.5 per game he took last season in Houston, but they're not going to go up to 17, 18 per game, and he's averaging 25, 26. The ultimate thing with Dwight that no one really knows right now, but if he somehow next year goes into his team and understands he's the second or third option, he can be a fantastic addition to them. If he goes in thinking I need to be the man, then that's going to lead to problems.
Who's the guy who gets a max deal that we all say, huh?
Oh, I don't know. Marvin Williams, maybe, in Charlotte. Nick Batum and Harrison Barnes are going to be right there with max deals. I mean, Kent Bazemore's price goes up almost by the hour, which is
amazing.
You saw Atlanta on draft night drafted 2 swingmen. I think that's a pretty clear sign from the Hawks that they're not going to play the Kent Bazemore game and let teams drive up the price on him. But, Dan, I can't emphasize this enough. It's going to be the Wild West over these next couple of days. I had one general manager tell me that they had on their board Matthew Dellavedova earmarked at like $8 million per year. I mean, this is almost crazy, some of the talk that's out there right now. I think you're going to see some head-scratching salaries over the weekend that when you come back after the 4th of July, you're just going to look around and say, what the hell happened?
Thank you, Chris. Have fun tonight.
All right, Dan.
That's Chris Mannix.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.